Morning, everybody. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. All individuals entering city-operated facilities, including City Hall, are required to wear a non-medical face mask. Those at the table are not required to wear masks while sitting, as long as they are distant 6 feet from anyone else. Once you leave your seat at the table, you must put your mask back on. As directed by Manitoba Health, we are requesting people avoid close contact within 2 meters with anyone showing symptoms of a respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing. If you are experiencing flu-like symptoms, we are requesting that you excuse yourself from the room. Please note, when you join the meeting via Zoom, all participants will be in the waiting room and your microphone will be muted until the host lets you in the room. You can watch the hearing live via the City's Board of Revision YouTube channel. When called upon, you will be allowed from the waiting room and permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once you have been heard, you can continue to watch the hearing live via the City's Board of Revision YouTube channel. If any participants are currently watching the live meeting on YouTube, please mute your audio player now. I'd like to introduce the panel members. The secretary this morning is Carla Balshaw. The panel members are to my left, Lynn Nesbitt, and to my far left, Jeff Peach, and I am Robert Buss. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. Matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matter must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant will leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be a part of the public record. Use of cell phones is not permitted except by the approval of the chair. Please put your cell phones on mute or airplane mode. Thank you. And we will begin with item number 5 on the docket today, 675 Thiebaud. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce the assessors. The assessors are Matthew Barakas and Nancy Flockton. And whichever one of you is handling this property, you're welcome to get started.
Okay, I'll just do the affirmation first. Nancy, I'll return you to the waiting room for now until your item comes up. And Mr. Assessor, for the record, please state your name.
Matt Barakas.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Applicant, for the record, please state your name.
Wesley Van Bruggen.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Matthew, when you're ready, please.
Okay. File number 20-323, roll number 0606086-2000-675 Tebow Street. Roll year was under PLO's 2021 with the April 1st, 2018 reference date. We've got an assessed value $1,422,000. It's an apartment built in 1961 originally. We have an effective age on the property of 1980. It's 2 stories, it's 9 suites, there's 6 outdoor parking spots, construction class D wood or steel framed walls. If you go to page 2, you see that they've been good with handing in their mailer information, so we don't have any compliance issues there. We got some old sales of the property going back to the 2000s. Page 3 shows the income value summary of 9 total units. So there's 7 1-bedroom and 2 2-bedroom. Average monthly rent assigned by the model is $965. Their model vacancy and expense ratio of 41.69 calculates a net operating income of $59,719 and a capitalization rate of 4.2%. That's assigned by our model as per age, area, and size. Page number 4 is our comparables, just to support the income assigned by the model. These are properties in the area that have sold, or not sold, that are rent in the area that are similar in terms of effective year built. So our average monthly rent of $965 is bracketed by the comparables. Rents which range from $955 to $1049. So when considering this property, okay, I guess you go into cap rate. So our cap rate here is on page 5. That's our chart that you guys have seen. It's just showing a general range of cap rates out there in the market. High rise, low rise A, low rise B. In terms of looking at the net operating income of this property, it looks like we're pretty much dead on. The city net operating income is $59,719. While if you open the PDF file, the first page shows this is the mailer that the city received from the owner, 2017, which is the most recent mailer up to the reference date, 57,301. So we're about $2,000 higher, but their property management is in around 7.5%. It's typically stabilized for appraisal and assessment at 5%. So that would bring our net operating incomes down when you adjust for that. That would bring the net operating incomes down to within $1,000 of each other. The mailer management would have been at 5%, $5,076. So we're pretty much bang on that one. So for those reasons, I didn't make a change to the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Wesley Van Bruggen. You can call me Wes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions, Wes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple. Thank you very much. If the board can turn with me to page 3 of the brief. Just in terms of the income valuation summary, just to confirm, the capitalization rate used for this property was a 4.2%. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. And if the board can turn with me to page 5 when we're ready. So on page 5, we have the information in terms of capitalization rates from the City of Winnipeg. If we look here, we can see that the city of Winnipeg is using a range of 4 to 7.3% for their capitalization rates. Is that correct?
Yep.
And then when we look at the percentiles, we'll see that the 20th percentile is 4.9, and the 80th percentile is 5.3. So is there a reason that this property is at the lowest end?
The caps are assigned by model, by age, area, and size. So the model would have assigned it based on the income and expense millers received by property owners. So it's just taken from data in the region. So it is on the lower side. That is not disputable, but it's supported by the income and expense millers we get from the property owners.
And then when we look at the Colliers, Seabury, and Cushman, and we look at what their capitalizations rates are, you would agree that the lowest one would be Cushman Wakefield at 4.75, and that would be a high rise. Everything else we're looking at would be 5 and up. Would that be a fair statement?
In terms of what they are reporting, yes.
All right. I think that concludes all my questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Jeff, any questions?
Have you had an opportunity to see the property?
Unfortunately, no. I mean, we don't typically even have time to inspect them, but especially with what's going on right now, we don't really go out and take a look at places.
Right. And then you've presented some rent comparable subject properties. Is there a way to assure us that these are of similar condition?
I haven't inspected these rent comparables. My main consideration was that when it's run through the calculation, our net operating income is $59,000, and when you stabilize the last mailer they actually sent to us, it's almost identical in terms of it being around 59,000. So that's the number that the cap rate works off of to generate a value. So I really honestly didn't put too much thought to these comparables for that reason, because it doesn't really matter because we're pretty much bang on for net operating.
Okay, I have no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just looking at your age, you've got an age variance on this from 1961 to 1980. So that would suggest that there's been some extensive renovations to the property. Can you tell us what they are and when they occurred?
Yeah, just looking at the notes here on the property, what I can see is there was an inspection done in 2007 with some interior alterations to include reconfiguring from 8 to 9 suites. Rents were adjusted upwards. In terms of detail of what they actually did, I don't have that. I'm going to double check again right now just to make sure that there wasn't more detail on a permit that wasn't noted. But there was work done that caused the rents to increase. So for that reason, the effective age was adjusted to adjust our model rents to match what they're actually getting. So it seems it has worked in the respect that our net operating income is pretty much exactly what they're reporting. So it looks like we have them set properly in our model.
Thank you very much. No further questions.
I think my questions have been asked, so we'll, Wes, if you would like to present your information.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just if the board will turn with me to page 3 of my brief, we'll get started. The way I like to do hearings is I like to do more of a high-level view initially, just to give the board a sense of where the property is, some general information about the property, and then we go down to more site specifics. So, property description: the City of Winnipeg Assessment Department has assessed the property, located with a year of construction of 1980. It's effective year of construction, comprising of 9 suites in one building. The income approach has been used by the municipality to determine the value of the property. The assessment value of the property is $1,422,000. M&P will be requesting an assessment value of $1,070,800. If the board will turn with me to page 5 of my brief. On page 5, we have the current assessment for the property, just showing how the property has been valued, showing the potential income, a vacancy rate of 1.8%, an expense ratio of 41.69%, and a capitalization rate of 4.2%. If the board will turn with me, when ready, to page 7. On page 7, we have the requested assessment. So again, effective year of construction of 1980. As was mentioned, when we look at the potential income, we have a potential income of $102,590. Once we add the 1.8% expense allowance, or the vacancy allowance, we get an effective gross income of $107,400, very similar to what has been assessed. We have an expense ratio of 44.2%. That's from the property itself, and with a expense allowance of $44,525, resulting in net income of $56,218. Now, where the difference comes really between the City of Winnipeg assessment and ours is the capitalization rate. So as mentioned, the City of Winnipeg is using a capitalization rate of 4.2%. MP will be using a capitalization rate of 5.25%. Using that parameter and the net income, we get a value of $1,070,828, and then we truncate that to $70,800. The board will move with me to the next page. This is page 8. We just have the physical characteristics of the property. Again, most of this has already been discussed, so I won't go through it, but we're certainly there if there's questions. Page 9 is the property detail report from the City of Winnipeg, just outlining some general information about this property. And then if the board will turn with me to page 11. On page 11, we have the assessment map for the property, just showing the location of that property in Winnipeg. This assessment map has been provided by the City of Winnipeg. Page 12 and 13, or sorry, just on page 12, we have some the location using Google Maps of the property. And the bottom of page 12, we have the picture of the property itself. Just an external picture. If we move down to page 13, on page 13, we have some exterior views there of that property. And then on page 14, we have the laundry room as well as a suite. This is followed up with page 15 and 16. So these are just interior photos of that property for the board's knowledge and reference. Page 17, we have the valuation. So as mentioned, the income expense, we've taken the property's generating income of $102,590 and has expenses of $44,525, very similar to what's been assessed. Now, the challenge and where we disagree is the capitalization rate. So as mentioned, the property's been assessed with a capitalization rate of 4.2%. M&P has reviewed sales in the market and determined that the capitalization rate should be 5.25% based on this information. So on the bottom of page 17, we have the sales that we've looked at. So M&P has reviewed 6 sales in the area. While we don't have the actual net operating income for each one of these properties, we have taken the information from CMHC rental rates and vacancy rates for the area to use as a basis for our calculation. I'll take the board to that information later on, but just to give the board a sense, the vacancy rates were the rental rates which were collected were based on year of construction, and they ranged from about $800 up to about $1,000 for these properties. So very much in line with what's already been discussed for properties in the area. Again, what we see here is we've identified our 6 properties here. You can see them in the table. The year of construction of these properties ranges from 1952 to 1981. The number of suites in the properties range from 8 to 14. when we look at the sale dates of these properties range from 2015 to 2017, and when we calculate those NOIs, again using the CMHC rental rates and vacancy rates, we get our calculated capitalization rates. Those calculated capitalization rates range from 3.7% up to 6.71%. When we take an average of these, we get an average of 5.19% and a median of 5.24%. These are driving our request of our capitalization rate request of 5.25%. Moving on to the next page, page 18. Starting on page 18, we have just some exterior photos of these properties so the board can see what they look like. So the first one is 441 Marion Street. Then the next page, page 19, we have 284 Notre Dame Street. Page 20, we have 140 Eugenie. Page 21, we have 424 Olno Street. Page 22, we have 438 Olno. And finally, on page 23, we have 437 Marion Street. Again, these are just reference for the board to see what these properties look like. On page 24, we have a map. This is provided that's been showing to just show the location of these properties in comparison to the subject property. So the subject property is point A on the map. If you look, you can see that kind of in the top right corner of the map. And then you can see the remaining properties are located within St. Boniface. Point C, this is 284 Notre Dame is located fairly close, and the rest of those properties are located within fairly close proximity as well. If the board will turn with me to page 25. On page 25, we've referenced two market reports. So again, as mentioned, the property has been assessed with a capitalization rate of 4.2%. Considering market reports from Colliers and CBRE, we've determined that multifamily properties have capitalization rates ranging from 5.65 to 6% for low-rise buildings. Again, just to remind the board, the city has assessed the property with a 4.2% capitalization rate, which is well below that lower bound of the range. M&P is requesting a 5.25%, which would be right in that range. When we look at sales, the next consideration is we've taken a look at these sales on a sale price per suite basis. So again, what we've done, we've taken the same 6 sales, we've looked at the sale prices, and we've divided them by the number of suites that are within the units or within the building. You can see these sale prices range from a low of $82,667 per suite up to a high of $137,500 per suite. The subject property has been assessed at a rate of $158,000 per suite, so well outside that range. When we take a look at this, again, we look at the average and the median. The average of this is $104,002 per suite, with a median of $93,643 per suite. So again, we understand that different buildings generate different rates, but we try to capture that by looking at both the net operating income as well as the sale price per suite to determine whether or not this valuation is within the range of what these properties would transact for. If the board will turn with me to page 26, we have our conclusion. So M&P has reviewed the property. It's our opinion that the property has been overassessed. The issue, we believe, is related to the capitalization rate. After considering the sales of similar properties, M&P has arrived at a value of $1,070,800, which equates to a value of $118,980 per suite. So again, just reminding the board that when we looked at these similar properties, they range from $82,000 to about $87,000 per suite. So we're kind of right in the middle there, and we're above the median and the average, what's been calculated. Again, page 26, we just have our valuation there, similar to this to what we've already seen. Page 27 starts with supporting documentation. So this is the assessment notice on page 27. And then following through till page 33, this is just again, so we have the notice of hearing and the receipt of application, just to show that this has been filed properly. The board will move with me when ready to page 36. Give a moment. Just to confirm, we're all on page 36 together? Yep, excellent. So on page 36, we have the profit and loss statement for the property. This is ending March 2018. So again, this is where we've gotten our income and expense information from. You can see that information on page 36 and page 37. Page 38 contains the rent roll for the property. If the board will move with me to page 40. Page 40 is information from CMHC. So there's a variety of ways we can look at properties. What we've decided to do is we've decided to look at properties using the year of construction, as we feel that that is a good indication of what rents the properties are generating. We've looked at St. Boniface. Again, unfortunately, when we're looking at these properties, they are looking at specific time frames. So we have October 2018 is when this was done. We can see here that properties before 1968 are generating rents of between $815 to $899. 1960 to 1979, rents between $800 to $1,034. And then 1980 to 1999, rents around $915. So again, we're using these because we're unable to get the net operating income for these properties, even though we had requested it. When we were denied, this is how we're determining what general rents they should be achieving. And again, we see this lines up fairly closely with what the assessor has provided. On page 41, we have the vacancy rates, again, in St. Boniface by year of construction. So we've looked at that as well to help us derive our vacancy rates. Page 42 contains the income parameters that we've used in our capitalization rate study. Here you can see that we've used a rental rate as per the area and per the neighborhood that it's located in, as well as the age of the property. We've done the same thing with the vacancy rate. For the expense ratio, we've used our expense ratios ranging from 42% to 50%, depending on the year, depending on the age of the property. So the newer properties are at 42%. Then we go up to 40, and then we go to 45 and 50% for the older properties. Using the number of suites, this is how we're calculating our net operating income for these properties. These net operating incomes that you find on 42 will correspond with the net operating incomes used on page 17 in our capitalization rate study. If the board will move with me, sales support starts on page 44. So this is the 2015 December market report from the Johnson report. Page 47 contains our first sale at 437 Marion. Again, this is just supporting where we got this information from. Page 51 is the next sale at 424 Ulno. Page 55 is the third sale at 438 Ulno. Page 59 is the fourth sale at 441 Marion. And finally, on page 63, we have the last two sales at 140 Eugenie and 284 Notre Dame. Starting on page 65, we have the Q3 2018 Canadian capitalization rate and investment insight. If the board will move with me to page 66, we have capitalization rates. This is support for the information provided for market reports. You can see this information on page 66 and 68. Finally, starting on page 70 until the end of the document is just information, the 2020 general information regarding the evaluation of income-producing properties from the City of Winnipeg. With that, I conclude my presentation. I welcome any questions from the board or from the assessor. Thank you very much.
I thank you for your presentation. And we'll see, Mr. Barakas, do you have any questions?
Yeah, just let me grab the page. Where I'm gonna start here. Okay. So because it's mostly a cap rate issue, I'm gonna stick to that mostly. So I'm gonna start on page 40. And we all go to page 40 of the appellant's brief, please. So, question, these rates are the rates that were used for the estimation of net operating income for your calculation of cap rate on your sales. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So this information is taken from CMHC report as of October 2018. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And our reference date on this property for this property is April 1st. Pardon me, April 1st, 2018. So this would be post-reference information. Is that correct?
Yep, slightly post fact, but again, when we look at the information, so the information is collected via a survey, and the survey is done over the course of the year. So that information would have been captured within the survey, and we don't have any reason to believe that the market has changed in that time frame in the few months following that the reference date. So we feel comfortable that this would be a reasonable representation of what the rents being achieved in the market at that time would be as of the reference date.
Okay. So did you have any of the income and expense information from your cap rate sales, or you just went off of CMHC rents?
We sent in a freedom of information request to the city of Winnipeg requesting the net operating income for the sales, and we were denied as we were told that information was not available to us. So because we were unable to collect that information, we had through the city of Winnipeg, and owners are traditionally cautious about providing that information, we had to calculate the net operating income in another way.
Okay. On page 42, it shows your vacancy rate. Is that taken from CMHC as well?
That is correct.
And that would be from October 18 as well?
Yep. Again, we don't. It's a survey done over time frame. As we know, the vacancy rate in a multifamily building is never a static situation. Is never at a point in time. So it's done by survey, and again, the survey would have captured the time frame in question. So again, we had no reason to believe that the market has changed in the short time frame following the report between the valuation date and the report coming out. So we felt reasonably comfortable in using that information.
Okay. How did you come up with the expense ratio?
Expense ratio. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. On page 42, how did you come up with the expense ratio?
Sure. Expense ratios were based on our experience. So again, older buildings tend to have higher expenses. So we used an expense ratio starting at 42% for the buildings that were 79 and 81. So similar in year construction to our property. And then we tiered that down slightly for the properties in 67 and 68 at 45%, and then drop that to 50%. So again, using our experience in terms of what we have seen in the past for these properties and what we'd expect, we've adjusted accordingly.
Okay. So I guess it would be fair to say you didn't have any actual income and expense information that would have been required to accurately calculate a cap rate for these sales.
Right. So while we did request this information from the city of Winnipeg through a freedom of information request, we were told that we were unable to get that, or that information would not be provided. So as such, we had to use alternative ways. So again, we took a look at the market. We looked at the market in a variety of different ways to see what would be appropriate rents and vacancy rates to use, and this is how we've come up with our rates.
Okay. Would you say it's probable that the cap rates in actuality, if we were looking at the actuals, would be different than what you calculated?
Well, I mean, each property is different, so yes, there is that argument that they would be a little bit different, but we feel, given all the information we've seen today, that provided by yourself provided by the city of Winnipeg, as well as what we've looked at, that these rates would be very close, and that the capitalization rates would be similar. Again, we've also looked at market reports which support that a 5% to a 6% capitalization rate is within the range, and we've taken a look at the sale price per suite of these properties, and we see that the sale price per suite, another check, lines up as well. So we feel reasonably comfortable that a 5.25% capitalization rate, it would be reasonable for the market.
Okay, and just a question on property management. Typically, it's stabilized at 5%. Right?
Sorry.
Typically, when income and expense figures are stabilized, management stabilized at 5% for residential rental properties.
Right.
It just this one looks a bit high. Just try and come. It seems like your net operating income is a little bit high because the management looks like it's a bit high. It's around 7.5%.
Right. So this is owned and managed by the owner themselves. So they do a lot of the work on the properties, whether that be fixing things or whether that be snow clearing, what have you. So a lot of those other additional expenses that get put into managing and running these properties kind of get wrapped up within those. So that 7.5% would contain a lot of other factors that would be for other properties separated out. So a lot of other properties, they have a management, plus they have a cost for snow clearing, plus they have a cost for just general R&M, just having people coming in and tidying up the building. So again, that's all tied up within this. So yes, I agree that 7.5 is a little bit higher than maybe typical, but this is tying in a variety of other factors. So I don't think it's unreasonable.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn, questions?
No, I have no questions.
Jeff, question?
I would just like a clarification on the survey that you've quoted, your page 42, the income parameters cap study. This survey was conducted when?
So the survey would have been conducted over the course of the year. So CMHC runs a survey over the course of the year, collecting information from the area from various property owners through phone, and then they compile that information into their CMHC surveys to generate and that's where the results come from.
And so that survey was conducted over the course of a year. Which year?
I believe it would have been from 2017, from the last survey. I believe the last one would have come out in October 2017, so it would have been done over that term, over the 2017 to 2018 year.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Thank you. I have a question on the sales and the cap rate. On page 25, you have your sales, 6 sales listed.
Yes.
Would you consider any one of them to be, or which would you consider to be the best, most comparable to your subject property?
Most comparable to the subject property? That's a good question. So to be frank, in looking at this, looking at the buildings, I would probably say the properties in Allno would be pretty similar, just in terms of if you look at the pictures on page 21 and 22, what those look like. And those Allno properties would be located in reasonably close proximity to the subject property. There would also be 67 and 68 in terms of year construction. So reasonably similar to our property with 9 and 14 units internally. I would say those would probably be a pretty good indication. The other one, just in terms of location, would be 284 Notre Dame. Again, this property would be located 1979 year construction, located in very close to the subject property.
Those 2 Allno properties, I agree with you. So what are the cap rates on those 2 Allno properties?
The capitalization rates are 6.71% on 424 Allno and 6.21% on 438 Allno.
What page is that?
If you look on page 17,
17? Okay.
Yeah. And you can find those all no properties would be the third from the bottom and the second from the bottom of that table.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That's all my questions. I think that will conclude. We'd have anybody, either party like summation on this property? We'll start with you.
I'll just save my summation for the end of the last property, just in terms of my thought on the cap rate.
Very good. Wes?
Sure. I mean, when we look at the property, we have to keep in mind the property's been assessed at $158,000 per unit. We've looked at sales, and we can see that there's nothing within this area that's selling at that rate. Sales in the area range from 882,000 per unit to 137,000 per unit. So again, when we take a look at that, that's already suggesting that the value of the property might be out of line. Additionally, when we take a look at the capitalization rate, we see that nobody is supporting a capitalization rate sub 5. And when we look at the sales, we can MVP has provided 6 sales as opposed to a model generated capitalization rate. All of these again showing that the capitalization rate for this particular property in this particular area has been overassessed. As such, we are respectfully requesting the board to reduce the assessment of this property to the requested $1,070,800. Thank you.
Thank you. That will conclude item number 5. We'll move on to item number 6, which is 2106 DeVries Avenue.
Mm-hmm. All right. File number 20.
Wait, 1 second, please, Matthew, while we reorganize here.
Yeah.
Everybody ready? Yep. Please proceed, Matthew.
Okay. Let me get this set here. All right. File number 20-324, rule number 04007139400, 2106 DeVries Avenue. Pardon me. Roll number, roll year 2021, reference date April 1st, 2018. Assessed value $16,009,000. Just skipping ahead, there is the city is requesting non-cooperation that the penalty is applied based on the applicant not handing in their 2017 income and expense mailer, which can be found on page 2 of this report here. So this building, there's 2 phases to it. Phase 1 was constructed and put on, pardon me, the roll in 2016 was first occupied September 1st, 2016, and was fully leased by November 1st, 2016. At that point, phase 2 was under construction. So the issue is that they handed in their 2016 mailer, but they didn't hand in their 2017 mailer, even though their building was up and running and fully leased at that time. So if you look at my folders here, like I have the registered mail.
Where is that?
That's been sent. That's in another PDF in the folder in a separate file. I I have to do them in separate files because I am working from home and out of a scanner to scan them all together. So it's under,
Correct, Matthew, the panel has all of your PDFs combined into one.
oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, then I would assume that is after my brief. It shows that the registered mail has been sent out to property.
On June the 8th, 2016, is that?
Yeah, that's the one. And then they signed for it as well. It was delivered. So they got the mailer. They handed it in the year before, and they didn't hand it in this time. So as the law goes, non-cooperation is being sought. That's my presentation for that.
Okay, we'll stop there and we'll ask Wes what he has to say about that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Am I good to go now, Mr. Chair?
We're going to deal with this non-cooperation issue.
Yeah.
Now,
So
the assessment department has given us information saying they requested the information, it was signed for, and it was not returned to them. You know why? Or
certainly. So there's actually within the assessor's brief, and I don't know if this is kosher or not, there's an email between the city of Winnipeg from a Patricia Bishop to Keith Thiessen on March 12th, 2018. The email string would have started on February 20th, 2018 from Patricia Bishop to Keith in regards to this property. So Patricia had sent an email following up on phase 2 of the Legacy Towers complex. And then Keith had responded providing a large amount of information. So he provided the rent roll for the entire property for phase 1 and phase 2. He provided the estimated total cost of construction for phase 2 and the total number of parking stalls for both phases. So this information was provided to Patricia Bishop on Wednesday, February 28th, 2018. And then farther up, he follows up with some more information in regards to the vacancy rate that the property is dealing with, as well as a few other things. So again, when we look at this, if we consider the sequence of events, here we see a property owner who has historically provided their information. The last property was his as well, and the property following this will be his as well. So we see that he does have a history of providing this information. Additionally, we see that there has been a communication in 2018 from the city of Winnipeg asking the owner to provide information about the property. So things that would have been requested through the income and expense mailer, things like the rental rate for the property, the construction costs of phase 2, the information regarding the parking stalls. So when they received this information in June, it seemed like a secondary request, as that information had already been provided to the assessment department. So it's not like the owner has not provided this information; they just had emailed it earlier on to the Winnipeg assessment department in terms of what that request was. So it would be our contention that they have met the onus, they have met the requirement to provide information, and that had just been provided earlier through an email correspondence with the city of Winnipeg.
okay, very good. Thank you. We'll see if the panel has any questions. Lynn, do you have any questions about this?
No, I'm just going through the information that you're referring to right now. So.
Jeff, do you have any questions? Of
Have
either party?
you asked the owner why he didn't respond to the request?
Again, through my conversation, is they believe they had. They felt that the email transaction back and forth was providing that information that had been requested from the assessment department. So again, like you can kind of see how there'd be a bit of a confusion, as there had been initial communication between the assessment department. They had asked for that information that had been provided, that would have been requested by the mailer. So when they got the mailer, they had thought they'd already complied with that.
So when they received the mailer, did they at all reach out to the city asking whether the prior information had been received?
That I don't know. That I can't speak to. I can only speak to what because I did ask why they hadn't, and they said that the initial communication was, as of their understanding, providing all the information that had been requested, and more. They provided all the construction information as well to Patricia Bishop. So again, it would be their position that they had provided all that information that was necessary.
I have no other questions.
I have a question, Matthew. Would you agree that all the information was provided, just not at the proper time or the proper form?
No, there was no income and there was no expense information provided. This email was in regards to putting the new second phase onto the property, getting construction costs, getting the rent roll. We send the income and expense mailers out because we want to know how they're operating. So they didn't tell us how phase one was operating. Sorry, they didn't tell us how phase one was operating in 2017. That wasn't provided at all. And they got their mailer and they didn't submit it to us. So it shouldn't be the case where the property owner can send information incomplete off, totally unrelated to the mailer. And that constitutes complying with the mailer that they received and never responded to. So it's not the same thing at all. So no, I don't agree.
Are we dealing with phase one here or phase two? Or what?
We're dealing with both. They're both on the same property, but they didn't provide any phase one information. And they provided the phase one and phase two rent roll and construction costs, but they didn't provide expense information. And we need expense information to come up with a net operating income to put into our system to calibrate our system. They didn't comply in 2017.
I see. Okay, we will. How do we do this now?
Well, let's take a short recess if you guys have information.
Yeah.
I'm going to put both of you in the waiting room.
Okay.
We'll admit you again when the decision has been made.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back. The board has made the decision. We will grant the non-compliance to the city. So Wes, the onus is on you. So we would ask that you present first.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. When the board is ready, if you just give me one moment here, sorry. The board will turn with me to page 3 of my brief. We'll get started. So on page 3, we have the summary of testimonial evidence. So the city of Winnipeg, again, has assessed the property located at 2106 DeVries Avenue. The property was constructed starting in 2017. It comprises of 90 suites across 2 buildings, and the income approach has been used by the municipality to determine the assessment value. The value of the property has been assessed at $16,009,000. MVP is requesting a value of $14,946,000 for this particular property. If the board will turn with me to page 5. On page 5, we have the current assessment for this property. Here you can see that 90 units have been assessed. The overall year of construction is 2017. The potential income for the property has been assessed at $1,346,371. A 2.6% vacancy rate has been applied, which with an expense ratio of 38.96%, resulting in a net income of $800,457. A capitalization rate of 5% has been utilized to get our value of $16,009,000. If the board will turn with me to page 7. On page 7, we have the requested value for the property. Here we have the 27. So here we have the actual value. Our actual income for the property is $1,080,778. So a little bit lower than what has been assessed, as can be seen. We have the expense ratio at 30.85%, giving an expense allowance of $333,445. When we take the expense allowance away from the actual, we get a value of $747,333. Using a 5% capitalization rate, we get our capitalized value of $14,946,665. If we look on Page 8, we have physical characteristics of the property. Physical characteristics are just showing the property is taxable, the valuation date as of April 1st, 2018, that that it is an apartment property located in the community of Springfield North. You can see influences are heavy traffic and external corner, and the site area is 2.3 acres. Page 9 contains the property detail report from the city of Winnipeg. Here, again, we can just see some of that information being shown. The property is located in Springfield North. We can see that valuation of $16,009,000. We can see those influences, the assessed land area of 2.3 acres. Page 11 contains a map of where that property is located within the city of Winnipeg. This map has been provided by the Winnipeg Assessment Department. You can see that it's located near Lashmoni Boulevard there. And then page 12, we have a satellite map showing the location of that property, as well as an external picture of the property itself. Page 13 contains 2 exterior photos of that property as well. You can see it's 4 stories, and it's just how it's located. Page 14 contains the valuation for the property. So the valuation, what we've done is we've looked at the income of the property, how much the property is generating. So as mentioned, the potential net income for the property has been calculated at $1,346,341.71. Yet over the same time frame, the property's only generated $1,080,778. After the expenses are taken in consideration, the property has been assessed with a net operating income that is 6.63% lower than the assessed net operating income. So the net operating income of the property is $774,333 compared to the assessed NOI of $800,457. Now, again, when looking at this, it would be it's our position that the reason for the difference is in regards to the vacancy rate. So the subject property has been assessed with a vacancy rate of 2.6%, yet documentation from the CMHC shows that the vacancy rate for the property is 6.7%. And additionally, in the email that was sent to the city of Winnipeg, it indicated that the vacancy rate for the property, I believe, was quoted at 5.5%, which is significantly higher than what has been assessed. So if the board will turn with me to the next page, to page 15. Page 15, we have vacancy by year of construction from neighborhood in East Kildonan from the CMHC. Here we can see that the vacancy rate for 2000 or later for East Kildonan is assessed or is determined to be 6.7%. So we can see vacancy rates for newer properties in East Kildonan are higher. And as well, we know that from the property owner had indicated that the vacancy rate for the property is 5.5%. So again, higher than what's been assessed by the city of Winnipeg. Page 17 to 19, or page 17 starts the income or the profit and loss for this particular property. Here we're taking, this is provided from the owner for the time frame from April 2017 to March 2018. Here we can see that the total property income for that time frame, the rental rate is, total rent is $1,058,521.50. After you consider the reimbursements, and after you consider the Airbnb rental, it's $1,080,778.10. If we continue on to page 19, we can see the total expenses for the property are $333,444.85, resulting in net operating income of $747,333.25. Page 20 to page 29 contain the rent roll for this property. Now it's worth noting that this rent roll is at a point in time, so they're looking at the rent roll as of April 1st, 2018. So this is only going to be looking at what the current situation is in the property on that particular point in time. So it doesn't look at what the vacancy rate is over that time frame. Page 30, we have our conclusion. So it's M&P's position that the property has been overassessed and the relevant information has been overlooked. When we look at the property, it's our position that the vacancy rate is the issue for this particular property. When we're looking at the actuals of the property using the actual rents of $1,080,778, the actual expense allowance, we get a net operating income, as mentioned, of $747,333. Using that 5% capitalization rate, we end up with a value of $14,946,665. Page 31 to the end, page 38 is just supporting documentation for that. So that would be the assessment notice, the notice of hearing, as well as the receipt of application for revision. With that, I conclude my presentation and I welcome any questions from the board or from the assessor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Barakis, questions?
Yeah, on page 7, if we can go to page 7 of the applicant's brief, please. It says potential income $1,080,778. So is that the potential income, or is that the income after vacancy?
You're right. I should be more clear. That's the income after vacancy. That's what they generated.
Okay, so there's a pretty big gap between our effective gross income and then your income after vacancy. Given that the second phase of this property was completed fall of 2017, would that not lend itself to higher yearly vacancy and lower the income generating power, looking at it as a yearly basis?
Sure. I mean, there's
a lease of time. There's a lease of time, right?
Sure. Yeah, and I agree. There is a certain amount of lease up. However, what we do know from the building and we do know from the email correspondence with the city of Winnipeg as well as within the area, we do see that vacancy is higher than that 2.6% has been assessed by the city of Winnipeg, particularly for newer properties. So yes, we agree there is a bit of a lease up time, but we also do feel that there is an adjustment that is warranted due to the fact that there's just more vacancy here.
Okay, so if we could turn to page 29 of your brief, please, everybody. So this is a pretty convenient rent roll, as it is actually exactly at the reference date, which is what we are assessing. So you'll see when we go down below the future tenants section, you can get, it says market rent monthly. It's in purple, second column of the cluster over. It says occupied units 113,535. So that would be on a monthly basis what they collected April 1st, 2018, correct?
For that 1 month, that is correct. Because again, we have to keep in mind that this is a monthly rent roll. So this would change per month based on tenants that are moving in and moving out. So for that 1 month, they did collect that 113,535.
So, and when we're looking at the amount of vacant units and money lost there, when I ran it through a calculator, if you take the 3,975 and you divide that by the 113,535, it comes out to 3.5%. So it looks like it's not as high as the CMHC, and it's also considering that there is lease up time. Would it not make sense that a lower vacancy should be used when closer to what the city is using?
No, I would disagree. I think when we look, so we know from the owner's correspondence that the property had a 5.5% vacancy rate. As additionally, when we know that this is a rent roll for a multifamily property is a snapshot in time. So we're looking at what is the vacancy as of that 1 month. So again, we have people moving in, we have people moving out, leases starting, leases ending. So I think we have to be aware that yes, for that 1 month, they had a 3.5% vacancy rate. But when we look at the vacancy in the market overall, within the area, we see 6.7%. When we see information from the owner, they're saying 5.5%. So again, what we see those are supporting rates that are clearly higher than that 2.6% that's been assessed by the city of Winnipeg.
Okay, and just looking at just the potential income of the place, in that same category, you've got total. So if you put the vacancy back in the income and you add it up, you get 117,510 on a monthly basis. So when you run that times 12, you're getting a yearly potential income of 1,410,000, which is a good amount higher than what the city's saying. So would you agree that we're understating the potential gross income of this property?
No, I wouldn't agree. Again, we have to keep in mind that this is a snapshot in time. So the rents that they're getting at this point in time are not necessarily going to be reflective of what they had gotten in the past or what they'll be in the future. It depends on what kind of inducements that are required to get tenants within the property to stabilize at a vacancy rate that they're happy with. So again, when we see the monthly rents for the units, that's not necessarily a 1-to-1 ratio. That's what they would like to get. That's not necessarily what they will get. Because again, to get a tenant within a vacant unit, there are times where we have to give a reduction on the rents in order to get them in there. So I would agree that is a number there that they have as of April 1st, 2018, but I wouldn't suggest that would be the case over the last year of the property, nor would I suggest that would be the case going forward, again, depending on how much vacancy they're dealing with in the market and how competitive they have to be with their rental rates.
Okay, and just thinking at an investor's perspective, do you think an investor would take the vacancy calculations, the vacancy percent taken from a lease-up time when looking to make a large $16 million long-term investment, or would they look at it at more of a reasonable level of vacancy, taking into consideration there is a lease?
I think anyone who's buying a property would take a look at what the vacancy is in the property, as well as they would take a look at the vacancy in the market. So they would give a sense of what they could expect for on a go forward vacancy rate. So I think that they would look at I think they would certainly look at a couple different factors when making the determination of what purchase price they would be making for the property.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see if the panel has questions. Mr. Pesh?
Just a point of clarification. You stated the actual income being $1,080,778. I just interpreted the document on page 42 that the potential is per month of $117,510, which is 1.4 million. The 1.4 million potential income, is that unrealistic?
I think it's what they hope to get for the property. I think that we have to take into consideration what are they going to lease those vacant spaces at, and how are spaces turning over. And that's the challenge. Is when you look at the rent roll, you can see that there are a number of leases that are expiring in 2018 that would be expiring within the next couple months. So one of the factors that we have to keep in mind is when you have higher vacancy within the market, that as spaces turn over, are they going to be able to achieve the rents that they had been able to achieve originally, or are they going to be able to, or is the rental rate going to drop? And the same thing with over the time frame of the asset. When over the year, as tenants move in and out of the building, what's the turnover rate of those tenants within the building? If you have a higher turnover rate, you're going to have more spaces that are going to be vacant for a month or two as you're getting another tenant in there. So again, that's going to impact your vacancy rate. So I agree that value on the bottom of the rent roll, the $117,000, certainly is a number that has been provided to the board. I won't dispute that. I would argue that when we need to consider the amount of turnover within the property to really get a sense of how much are they actually generating over the course of the year.
On your page 17, the profit and loss,
Yes.
Statement. I'm trying to find a line which speaks to the inducements that you referred to. Are there inducements itemized here in some way?
So the inducements would have been tied right into the rental, how much they would be generating in terms of the income. So there is no separate line item for inducements, but you'll see total income on that property. So total property or total income on page 17, middle of the page, is $1,080,778.10. So that is how much there are some landlords that record what they would expect to achieve and then what the inducements are, and then there's other landlords that just record what the income is. This landlord has just recorded what the income for that property is, so they haven't actually split out what inducements are or anything along those lines.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Thank you. Lynn?
Okay, I'm circling back to vacancy. So Wes, what is the vacancy? We have here the potential rent and what your bottom line income is, the same number, but you said that is net of vacancy. So
That's
what
correct.
vacancy did you use?
So I didn't use, so because I don't have what the unfortunately I don't have a line item for vacancy within the properties. I know some landlords will have like what the total rent is for the property, and then they'll have what the vacancy cost is, and then you can calculate what the what their income is by subtracting the two.
You just went straight to this rent roll base or this profit loss and took that number and that's your net of vacancy.
Exactly. Yes. Unfortunately, I don't have a separate vacancy number to give the board. We know that the owner had indicated the vacancy of the property is 5.5%. We know that for newer properties within the area, it's 6.7% as recorded by CMHC. However, for this particular property, what that vacancy is, I can't speak to specifically, and I apologize for that.
6.7 number that you're citing, I think that comes from page 15, correct?
Sorry, the which?
Page 15 of your report?
Yes, yeah. So that's the CMHC for 2000 or 2000 or later properties, year construction 2000 or later for East Kildonan, 6.7%.
East Kildonan, if I can recollect, is a very big area. This is way out by Lage and Headmaster Row, so it's sort of on the outskirts. Some might even call it North Kildonan. I'm not sure if that's the case, if it is North Kildonan or East Kildonan, but like within East Kildonan, can you explain to me the boundaries?
So so I did look at I did take a look at that when I was putting this together, because I was trying to determine which sector, as you mentioned, CMHC has defined this particular property as being located in. As you mentioned, it is a fairly large area. I believe it does go up to Elmwood, kind of on the towards the center of the city, and then I believe it goes out to you know what? Give me one moment here. Sorry, I've just got to take a look at this.
Okay.
So I believe the boundary that they used was kind of from the Red River out till and that up to the to Lage there, and that was kind of their boundary across the city. And then in terms of lengthwise, I believe it went up until Elmwood, and then out to, I think the boundary was probably Foxgrove Avenue, kind of there. That line there is the last road. So that was kind of as you said, it is a fairly large area that they have that CMHC is looking at.
Okay, I'm not really getting a sense that that 6.7 number is reflective of that particular area versus, I would think vacancies would be a whole lot different regardless of the age of the property in that southern edge of Elmwood than it would be in the northern edge, wouldn't you?
And I don't
town versus on Lage.
I don't disagree. I think the one thing we have to keep in mind is the year of construction of the property. So when we're looking at properties that are 2000 and newer, like again, for Elmwood, I don't know of a ton of newer newer multifamily properties that would be out there. There'd be certainly a lot of there'd certainly be older stock, but you wouldn't have that same number of newer properties. I think when we consider where we would be finding the newer construction within Winnipeg, we'd be finding a lot of that construction within River East, and probably Rossmere area would probably be where you'd see more of that newer construction, which would be in reasonably close proximity. And when you look at that CMHC report, you can see that in Rossmere Court, the Rossmere area, they're showing a 7.5% vacancy rate. So even if you do get a little bit closer, you are seeing a bit of a higher vacancy in an area that, not exactly by River East, but in a closer proximity to River East.
Okay, and just again noting that this report is as at October 2018, so it's possible that, as you said, some of this information could be post-reference. I'm not really sure because the CMHC report covers a broader period of time.
Yeah, unfortunately, we what we have inquired about getting some more information from Winnipeg, they had said no due to freedom of information. So when we look at this, we're kind of stuck in time. We're kind of stuck when looking at with the information we have. It's either October 1st, 2017 or October 1st, 2018, trying to figure out which is the better report to use when we're trying to take a look at this property. Is one of those kind of judgment calls, and we had felt that things hadn't changed that much in the market over the time frame.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I have no questions, so we will go to the assessor's presentation, please.
Okay, so on this property, we didn't have the mailer, so we went with modeled parameters. It's file number 20 -324. So basically, to kind of streamline things here, the main issue is, because it's the same cap rate, it seems to be that, in my opinion, the appellant isn't recognizing lease-up vacancy. And when you look at the potential income on that rent roll that he provided on page 29, their actual potential income is about $100,000 more than what the city's saying. The applicant's got lower expenses in their workup, and we have the same cap rate. So in my opinion, an investor wouldn't consider the lease up period. Clearly, the actual 2017 vacancy was higher than 6% or 7% or whatever the applicant said. Is because the second phase didn't even come online until fall of 2017. So April 1st, 2018 is the reference date. That's what we're valuing it as. So the information that we have as the reference date is saying that the potential income of the property is actually $1,410,000, whereby the city is only assessing it potential income of $1,346,000. So we're not overstating the income. We're giving a reasonable vacancy rate, and our expenses are higher. So definitely not the case where this one should be lower. I'm not going to go into it any more than that. I think Wes did a good job giving all the information there. So that's going to be my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Wes, do you have any questions of the assessor?
Just one. If we can move to page 14. Sorry, and I apologize, Matt. I don't know if you had indicated. So page 14 is the Patricia Bishop email between Keith Thiessen and Patricia Bishop. That would have been March 12th for the board. That would be page 14 of the board's package. Matt, I don't know what the format is you're using, but
I'll pull it up here. Is it the one that says Monday, March 12th, 2018, 7:33 a.m. on it?
Yeah, that's the one. Thank you.
Okay, I got it.
All right. So you'd agree that in this email, this is March 12th, 2018. This would have been right, just a couple days, half a month before the valuation date. You would agree that Keith is indicating, the owner's indicating a 5.5% vacancy rate within the property?
That's what he's putting down, yeah.
Yeah, and you would agree that there, again, if we take that was as of March 1st, or that was as of March 12th, 2018, and the valuation date would be as of April 1st, 2018. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's correct. And I mean, it looks like 18 days later, the vacancy rate dropped to 3.5. So it's coming down with Lisa.
Fair enough. And that concludes my questions. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. We'll see if the panel members have any questions. Ms. Nesbitt,
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Mr. Pesh.
I have none, thanks.
I don't have any questions either. I think it's been explained properly from both sides. Thank you. Summation from either party. Wes, summation?
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. I guess when the property's been assessed with a 2.6% vacancy rate, we've seen a lot of numbers, we've heard a lot of numbers, but I think when we look at what we've heard from, the owner has said 5.5% vacancy rate for the property, and when he's saying 5.5% vacancy rate, he's looking at a longer term for that particular property. We know that as of that 1 month, the property had a 3.5% vacancy rate, and for the area CMHC is showing 6.7 and a 7.6 or 7.5% vacancy rate, depending on which area you look at in East Kildonan. So I think either way, all the numbers, no matter which ones you're looking at, none of them are supporting a 2.6% vacancy rate. So it would be our position and our contention that the property has been overassessed and that vacancy rate needs to be adjusted. As such, M&P believes that the numbers we've set forward, that $14,900,000 value is supportive of what the value of the property should be, and we respectfully request the board to make that reduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barakis, any
I'm okay, thank you. I'm okay, thanks.
That will conclude item number 6 on the docket. We will move on to item number 7, 300 St. Mary's Road.
All right.
And Matthew, whenever you're ready.
Okay, just let me bring it up here quick.
Yeah, no rush.
Okay, file number 20-328, roll number 06091696,000, 300 St. Mary's Road. 2021 roll year reference April 1st, 2018, assessed value 738,000. Actual year built 1948, effective year built 1970. So we got some working that's been done in the property. Number of suites is 6, outdoor parking spots 5. You go to page 2, you'll see that they've been good handing in their mailers. Hasn't been an issue on this one. Income value summary found on page 3. Pardon me. We got the number of units here is 6. 1 bed, 5 2 bedrooms. Average monthly rent is $872. With our model parameters, we've got a 4.6 cap rate as per age, area, and size. Picked by the model using our net operating income of $33,932 on it. We get our estimated market value of $738. We've got our rent comparables on page 4. of this one. Maybe to save a little bit of time here, I'll look, if we go to the income and expense mailer that was submitted to the city, which is, for me, a different file, but I would assume this on your, it's all in one PDF for yours. So if you look at the net operating income on the title page following my brief, you'll see that they're declaring net operating income of what looks to me 32,606. They've also got a little bit higher vacancy. Their vacancy again is coming in at around 7%. So restabilize that 32,606 gets even closer to our what we're using at 33,932. So there's no reason to change the net operating income on this property. The cap rate is done by age, area, and size. Now, I didn't present on the first property based on cap rate because I forgot, but there should be a sheet at the very end of my brief, which gives actual examples of cap rates in the city. You guys have seen this before. I believe it's at the very end. So capitalization rate evidence, actual sample of sales that took place during the reference period, is just to illustrate the accuracy of our model and substantiate models at cap rates. They're not meant to be comparable specific to the subject property. So we've got office, retail, and multifamily in the third grouping down, and we've got for sales, Roach, Talbot, Maxwell, and Ward, ranging from 4 to 5%. Now, there's sales in the city that had cap rates higher than 5%. There's some that are even higher than 6%. I know this is the first reassessment where we're using sub-5 cap rates. So in order to give the Board of Revision something to go upon, give them confidence in understanding that there are cap rates lower than 5% in the city of Winnipeg, we gave these properties as an example. So Roche, Talbot, and Maxwell are all below 5%. This is based on sales within a year from the reference date. And it's based on their actual income and expenses, 3-year stabilized. So it's not based on guessing or anything like that, or using market figures. So that's what I got for cap rate evidence. So basically, it looks like our net operating income is good, and our there's examples of cap rates that are lower than 5, and our caps picked by age, area, and size by the model. So I didn't make a change. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have questions. Wes, do you have any questions of?
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, just out of curiosity, just more of a housekeeping issue first. Does the board have that document with the rent, with the sales and the capitalization rates on the examples in your package?
That Mr. Barakis was just referring to?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe we do. It's page 10 on our document.
Oh, okay. I don't have a page 10, but that's fine. That's
It may have been sent to you separately.
It may have been sent separately. Okay, sorry. I apologize. If the board will just give me one moment, I just need to check my email. Just like to check my email to see.
I'll just send it to you right now.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No. I get when we have different pieces and packages. Sometimes stuff gets through, sometimes it doesn't. So that's completely reasonable.
It'll be the last page of this.
Okay.
Going through now.
All right. Sorry, and I apologize for the delay, Mr. Chair.
Oh, not to worry.
Perfect. Thank you, Kara. All right. Excuse me. So just so I'm aware, just in terms of the questioning, on page 10, in terms of the capitalization rate, Matt, this is the capitalization rate evidence that you talked about, the table. For the rents or the net operating income, are those from the property itself or are those model generated?
Those are from the property itself.
Do you know, and do you have any breakdown of the number of 2 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms, any of that stuff?
If you like, I could get them for you. Here, let me look them up. My computer is really slow though. I got to 181 Roach. Doesn't work too quick remotely. Okay. Like on hand, I don't have the 3-year stabilization, but that is how the net operating incomes were generated by stabilizing multiple years, taking actuals and using the actuals to come up with a stabilized net operating. So it's going to take a while. What's the first 191 Roche? Do you want me to go through all of them and get the ratios for you?
No, that's fine. I was just more curious if you had it here, just because it wasn't provided to me, so that's fine. Okay. So again, you used 3 years stabilized. Did you provide any of the income from the properties itself, so we could take a look at how they were stabilized?
No.
No. All right, that's fair. Then I guess that's all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll see if panel members have questions. Ms. Nesbitt.
No questions.
Mr. Pesh.
Just quickly, I note that the comps you've provided on page 10 don't seem to be very comparable to the subject property when we're looking at cap rates for a property with 103 suites versus the subject property, which is 6 units. Can you speak to which would be the best comp here?
Okay, yeah, just give me 1 second. So I guess you're referring to 333 Ward. So the 333 Ward wouldn't be comparable to the subject property. The other properties would definitely be more comparable. You'll see as the number of suites with the first 3 properties, as it goes down, you'll notice that in step the cap rate goes down as well too. It's because there's a bigger pool of potential investors that are capable of raising the required capital to make the sale price. So when you're looking at bigger properties, I mean, you're talking about bigger firms, real estate investment trusts. The little ones, couples, groups of, private citizens, they can come up with the money to make these purchases. The big ones, they're just out of reach. So like you saw with the first property, you'll see some of the smaller properties have the lowest cap rates. That's because there's more people that can actually buy them and they see them as good investments. Real estate is pretty strong, and with interest rate going down, the purchasing power goes up. And to me, it just makes logical sense that the smaller ones would have lower cap rates, and that's why you're seeing 394 Talbot. It's got cap rate around 4%, and we've seen them on income and expense mailers where they declare in the 4s all the time. So we're definitely not out of line or out of touch with what's actually happening.
So if that's the case, why then on page 5, which is a document we've seen countless times, the 20th percentile in the multifamily is 4.9, 80th percentile 5.3. Why are the comps you've provided, why are they all below the 20th percentile?
Oh, okay, because this is the first year when the city's gone below 5%, and we've gone like a lot below 5%. So given that a lot of the time the panel members that we present our evidence to, they don't change every year, we would have to provide information, or else, quite frankly, I don't think the panel would believe us that there were cap rates in the city below 5%. But there are. If you look at the income and expense mailers and the sales questionnaires where the owners routinely declare that they purchased the property below 5%, we had to come up with some examples. Like, we know there's cap rates above 5%, but we're just trying to show that, yeah, there's ones that exist below 5% as well.
So there are other cap rates you've just indicated that would be above 5%, closer to the 80th percentile, but you haven't offered those to us.
No, and they exist, and that's why we have cap rates in our model that go above 6%. These are just 4 examples to try and show the panel. We're not saying all the cap rates in our model are below 5%, and all the properties have a sub 5 cap rate. That would be incorrect. That's not at all what we're trying to put forth here. We're just trying to show evidence, particularly in cases like this, in the first one, when the panel is going to look at it and say, "Whoa, that's a low cap rate." Well, those cap rates actually exist out there. 303 Ward is not the lowest cap rate in the city.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Yeah.
I have no questions either, so we will move on to your presentation. Wes?
Thanks very much, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. If the board can turn with me to page 3 of my brief when you're ready, we'll get started. So much the same as what we've done with the other properties. I'll start with a high-level overview and then move down to the property specifics. So the property is located at 300 St. Mary's Road. The property is in the Norwood West community neighborhood. The property was constructed, I believe the year of construction on this was 1940 as indicated by the assessor's brief. Just give me 1 second here. Yeah, 1948 is the actual year of construction. The effective year used is 1970. The building is comprised of 6 suites across 1 building. Property has been assessed at a value of $738,000. MVP is requesting a value of $492,800. If the board will turn with me to page 5. On page 5, we have the assessment detail report for this particular property. Here you can see the effective year is 1970. Potential income as assessed by the city of Winnipeg is $62,826. 1.8% or 1.8% vacancy rate has been utilized. 45% expense ratio has been used for the property, resulting in expense allowance of $27,763. Net income is $33,932. The property has been assessed with a capitalization rate of 4.6%, and that gives us the assessed value of $738,000. Now on page 7, M&P has brought forward our value for the property. So here we could see a table showing the actual versus assessed income for the property. So the income of the property is $65,979. So very similar to what the city has assessed it at. The expense allowance is higher than what the city has assessed it at. The city has assessed an expense allowance of 45%. Excuse me. The property has an expense allowance of 60.06%, or $38,917. The net operating income for the property is $25,875. The other difference is the capitalization rate. So the city has used a capitalization rate of 4.6%. M&P is using a capitalization rate of 5.25%. Using this and the net operating income, we get a capitalized value of $492,851, truncated down to $492,800. Page 8 are the physical characteristics of the property, so I won't go through that, as most of this has already been discussed. Page 9 is the property detail report. So this is from the city of Winnipeg, showing the property is located in Norwood West. You can see just some general information about the property there. Page 10 is the location of that property. So again, using the city of Winnipeg's assessment map. And page 11 is a satellite map of that particular property, showing that on the top, and then what the property looks like on page 11 on the bottom there. And then page 12 are just one exterior shot and then a shot of the laundry room for that property. Page 13, we have the valuation. So as mentioned, the property is generating a similar income to what has been assessed at $65,979.32. However, the property has been assessed with a 45% expense ratio of $27,763, but the actual expenses in the property are higher at $38,917. The second issue is the capitalization rate. So the city has used a 4.6% capitalization rate. MVP has looked at sales within the area. So we've identified 6 sales within the St. Boniface area, so that would encompass Norwood West. We've already seen these sales before, but I'll just go through them again. So we provided those sales in the table below. These sales are located in central St. Boniface, North St. Boniface, as well as Norwood West. Year of construction of these properties are 1954 up to 1981. Again, because we don't have access to the 3-year stabilized income for these particular properties, even though we had requested that from the city of Winnipeg through a Freedom of Information request. We use the CMHC rental rates and vacancy rates for the area to determine what our estimate what our net operating income would be. Using the net operating income, dividing it by sale price, we get our calculated capitalization rates, ranging from 3.7% up to 6.71%. When we look at these, again, understanding that different properties sell with different motivations, we've looked at an average of 5.19% and a median of 5.24%. It's MMP's position that a 5.25% capitalization rate would be reasonable for this particular property. Pages 14 to 19 are just exterior photos of those properties that have been utilized in this analysis, so you can see those on those pages there. Page 20 is just providing a map showing the location of those properties in comparison to the subject property. So pin A is 300 St. Mary's Street, St. Mary's, that's the subject property, and then the remaining pins are where the other properties are located. Page 21, we have the market reports, again, as we've talked about from CBRE and Colliers, showing showing capitalization rates for low-rise office or low-rise apartment buildings ranging from 5% to 6%, from Colliers 5.5% to 6% for CBRE. Again, the last component is a check on the value. So what we've done is we've looked at the 6 sales that we've identified previously, and we've looked at these on a sale price per suite basis. So again, understanding that properties sell for different value, or have different income. But what we've looked at is saying, okay, what do we know? We know the sale price, and we know this number of suites within the units, or number of units within the properties. Here we see properties are selling with a sale price of $82,000 per unit up to a sale price of $137,500 per unit. When we look at that, we get an average of $104,002 per unit and a median of $93,643 per unit. The subject property has currently been assessed at a value of $123,000 per unit. So that's the assessed value of $738,000 divided by 6 units. So again, when we looked at this particular property, it's our position that the property has been overassessed. When we look at the net operating income of the property, we see that the expense allowance for the property has been assessed a little too low at 45%. And when we look at the capitalization rate, we feel that capitalization rate at 4.6% is a little low. We'd be requesting a 5.25% capitalization rate. Coming out with that, using that, we get our estimated value of $492,851, truncated to $492,800. Page 23 to 29 is supporting information. So the assessment notice for this property, as well as the hearing notice and the application for revision. Page 32 is the profit and loss for this particular property. So showing what the income for the property is, as well as showing what the expenses for that property are. The expenses for the property can be found on page 33. You can see expenses for the property are $38,917.02, resulting in net operating income of $28,096.40. Page 34 is the rent roll for that property as of April 1st, 2018. Page 36 and 37 are the CMHC studies which were used. So again, as were previously noted and as had been previously done, these are from October 2018 for the rents. The rents were determined by median rent of year of construction for the neighborhood. The neighborhood we used was St. Boniface, and we've looked at those rents for each one of those areas. And the same thing with the vacancy rates found on page 37. Page 38 are the income parameters used for the capitalization rate study. So here we show the rental rates used, the vacancy rates, the expense ratios, and the calculated NOI for the board's reference. And then finally, starting on page 40 until page 59 are the supporting documentation of the sales that we've utilized in our analysis. Page 61 to 64 are the market reports that we've previously indicated or talked about. That's CBRE as well as Colliers as they look at what the capitalization rate should be for properties. And then starting on page 66 to page 74 is the income information from the City of Winnipeg regarding income producing properties for the 2020 general assessment. With that, I conclude my presentation. I welcome any questions from the respondent or from the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Barakis, questions?
Yeah. Should the income and expense statement submitted to the city match the one that's provided at the board of revision typically? Like there seems to be a pretty big difference in terms of what we're getting and in terms of what we're seeing today. You know why there's a difference in that?
Unfortunately, I haven't asked. I can ask the client and find out. But unfortunately, I don't have. That was not discussed with the client.
Okay. That's all the city can go off of. Your repairs and maintenance on page 32. This building here, it's got 6 units. So when I look at the repair and maintenance, they're saying they did $14,573. When look at that on a per unit basis, that's $2,428 per unit. Does that not seem high as to what we typically see?
I would agree that seems a little bit on the high side. Unfortunately, I don't have any color in terms of what that all entailed.
Okay. Well, we've talked about cap rate already, so I'm not going to ask the questions again. I just asked those questions be asked and answered and considered for this property as well. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Panel questions? Jeff?
My question has been asked, but not, I don't feel like it's been answered. Let me ask it a different way. As far as you know, the company providing the maintenance services, is that a third-party company, an arm's length party?
No, my understanding is that Forthright is the one that provides the services for this property.
And they're an arm's length third party?
No, they'd be related to the owner of the property.
They're
So
related.
yeah, so Keith Thiessen, the owner of the property, is like, so I guess so he owns Forthright properties with a couple partners. So I believe the property itself it's owned by Keith Thiessen personally, but Forthright is the one that's doing the property management, and he's one of the partners that owns Forthright. And I believe there's 3 partners that own Forthright.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Lynn?
I also had questions about the R&M, so that was helpful from the assessor and Mr. Peich. But I do have a question just about the information that's provided. Did you happen to look at the previous couple of years of, you call it profit and loss? So we can see if this is anything unique in this particular year. Did you look at it on a stabilized basis? So we can understand if R&M, which is $2,400 per unit, is maybe a little on the high side this particular year versus previous years. Have you had, do you do that as part of your methodology generally, and in this case particularly?
Unfortunately, this is our first year working with this client, so I only have the only information that was provided was the April 2017 to March 2018 information. So unfortunately, we would take a look at what previous information provided showed, just to see to get a sense of if where we stand over the course of the year. Unfortunately, for this year, because they are a new client, because this is the information I had, this is what we used.
Okay, you didn't think to ask for it?
You know what? I didn't. I apologize. Certainly something to consider going forward in the future. We'll keep that in consideration. Looking at a 3-year stabilized. To be perfectly frank, I did not realize it was a 3-year stabilized. So we'll certainly be looking at that more so in depth in the future.
Different people have different methodologies, and I appreciate that. But in a case where we're seeing $2,400 per suite in maintenance, that, as you indicated, was on the high side.
Right.
Just generally speaking, we've seen 1,500 to 1,800 as sort of more normalized.
Yeah.
So that might suggest something unique in this particular year, which would drive down your NOI block. So that's why I'm sort of asking, do you even consider doing that, or
Yeah, it would be something that we would certainly be looking at. It would be a consideration, because we do realize that when it comes to repairs, R&M, sometimes some years you're replacing a roof, and some years you're replacing a tap, and there's two very different values there's two very different expenses when it comes to that. So, unfortunately in this case we didn't, but it certainly be something that we'll keep in mind when going forward when looking at it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think my questions have been asked and answered. If you'd like some time for summation, we'll start with Matthew.
Yeah, I guess because this is the end of the MNP income producing properties, I'll just talk quick on my summation, because a lot of the difference is based on cap rate. So I guess the concerns with it, and I appreciate that Wes can only work with the information that's available to him. And so there just was a lot of information that wasn't available to him in coming up with cap rate sales to come up with a cap rate study. So you had to estimate using CMHC rents and estimated expense ratios. I guess the issue is when you have any little swing in the net operating income changes the cap rate. And that's the difficulty with having a lack of information. So that, coupled with the rental rates coming from the post-reference report, I feel we should go with the model rates. The model rates are based off the income and expense statements received by the properties in our city, and modeled statistically and applied as per age, area, and size for all the properties in the city of Winnipeg. That's my thoughts. That's my summation for all of the properties just on cap rate, because that is the main difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Wes, would you like anything to say?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. It's very difficult to be able to say the model's right and believe us, which again, we understand that the assessment department has a job to do. They take the information and they use it and they look at it as they do. However, the problem is we don't know what sales were utilized. We don't know how those sales were reviewed, and we don't know how, we don't even know where the sales are that they're using to generate that capitalization rate. If some of that information were provided, then we could take a look at that and think about that critically. However, none of that information is provided. What we have provided is we have provided sales in the area. We have shown what those sales are. We've given the addresses of those sales, the years of construction of those sales. We've done our best to determine a capitalization rate. Again, when you look at our methodology, we've used the information available as indicated. We had tried to get the information from the City of Winnipeg using a Freedom of Information Act request, but that request was denied. So we did use the best information we had, which was CMHC information. And when you look at the rents we've used for those properties, they're not out of line. They're certainly in line with what the property has been assessed and what we see the comparables being used by the city being falling within. The last factor is we did a secondary check in addition to the market reports and looked at what the values were of these properties on a per suite basis. Again, and that information is not up for debate. We know the number of units within these suites. We know the sale price for this, and we can see that properties in the area are selling for roughly $83,000 up to $137,000 per suite. And the properties that we're looking at have been both assessed. So the first one was assessed at $158,000 per suite, so well outside the range. The second property, 300 St. Mary's, was assessed at the high end of the range. And again, we have done that as a secondary check to say, does this make sense? Does the value assessed by the assessment department, taking away all other parameters, all other things that may be able to be considered, and just looking at the sale price, does it make sense? And we feel that it doesn't, and we feel that the information we've provided does support a reduction. We are asking 5.25% vacancy or 5.25% capitalization rate for this property. We feel that has been supported by the sales that we provided for the board. With that, I respectfully request the board to reduce the value of this property to our requested value of $492,800. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes item number 7. And I think that concludes. We will take a short break.
We can probably just roll right into number 8. You guys need a break.
We'll take a 5-minute break. It's 11 o'clock.
Okay.
We'll take a short break. Call the meeting back to order.
So, Madam Assessor, for the record, please state your name.
Nancy Flockton.
Do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Flockton, if you would like to get started.
Okay, thank you.
It's your evidence.
Okay, roll number 0607 0932 424 Valid Street. It is a multifamily conversion property with 3 units. The building was originally built in 1940 and has a total living area above grade of 1,764 square feet. There is no basement finish. So there are 3 units. So the main floor is a 2-bedroom unit and the upper floor has 2 1-bedroom units, and there is a single detached garage along with a carport. There is a park located directly across the property and is within short walking distance to St. Boniface Hospital. The 2021 assessment is $401,000. I've drawn 4 comparables near the subject, and I have attached a map for the board to see where these comparables are located in relation to the subject property. All the comparables are multifamily conversions. They do range in year built between 1910 and 1945. The areas range from 1,372 square feet to 1,808 square feet. They all have basement finish. Comparable 1 has 2 units with each having 2 bedrooms. Comparable 2 has 3 units. The upper floor has a 2-bedroom unit and the main floor has a 2-bedroom unit, and there's a 1-bedroom unit in the basement. It has a single detached garage. Comparable 3 has 2 units. Upper floor has the 3-bedroom unit and the main floor has a 2-bedroom unit. Comparable 4 has 3 units. The main floor suite has 4 bedrooms, well, 3 bedrooms plus an office. The upper floor has a 2-bedroom unit. The basement has a 1-bedroom unit, and it has a multiple detached garage. So the time adjusted sale price ranges from $384,700 to $429,700. After reviewing the subject property and the 4 comparables, it is the opinion of the assessor that the market value as of April 1st, 2018 is $401,000. Thank you.
Thank you. See if there's questions. Wes, do you have questions of the assessor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just a couple quick questions. Just to confirm, for $161 and $233 Brentard. Thanks, I appreciate it. Thank you. You would agree that both of these properties have when we look at them, all these properties have finished basements.
Correct. Yes.
Perfect. And you would agree that the subject property does not have a finished basement.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. And then when we look at the areas, the lot sizes, you would agree that the subject property is the smallest, has the smallest lot size when compared to the other 4 properties.
Correct. Yes.
All right. Just out of curiosity, on the 4 comparables that you brought forward, which would you say would be the most similar to the subject property?
Most similar. I have comparable 2 and comparable 3. Comparable 2 has the 3 units with one has the upper floor and 2 on the main floor. And then comparable 3 has good units. So those would be my 2 similar. I know comparable 4, it would be at the high end of the range. It's superior to the subject. I want to go there.
Okay, sorry. And so the rationale was comparable 2 and comparable 3 was due to the number of units within the property, as well as, sorry, what was the last component? What was the last consideration?
I considered comparable 4 being at the high end of the range, and it's superior to the subject.
Okay. All right. I think that concludes my questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see if the panel members have questions. Lynn, questions?
I do have a question, just in terms of land influence. I see that the subject property just has a park influence and the others have bus routes, light traffic. Mm-hmm. Yet they seem to have higher time adjusted sale prices despite those land influences. Is there something I'm missing? Is there a reason for that? I see they're a little bit bigger. Comp 3 is a little bit bigger, but not so much. Comp 2 is quite a bit smaller. I'm just trying to understand are they similar in types of location, or is our subject, better located, or how does that work?
Yeah, if you flip to my map that I provided after my comparable sheets, you will see the location of the subject. It's highlighted in yellow, and then there's a blank white space. That's the park. So it is actually in a superior location. It doesn't have the traffic like the other ones. There's 2 on Dollar. It's the street that goes right to St. Boniface Hospital. Bertrand, same thing. It has traffic, buses. And then De La Moraine, comparable number 2, is actually much further east of the subject, so it's inferior. When I'm looking at all these, I consider the subject superior location because it has the beautiful park in front of it. Taché is actually not that far. You can see it on the map. So it would have some noise of the traffic on Taché because Taché is busy as well. But it doesn't have the direct, buses right in front of the property where the other ones would have. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, actually.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Seeing the map is helpful.
Okay, perfect.
You don't kind of get a sense of where things were, right? Thank you.
I have done. Thank you.
I think my questions have been answered. I was interested in the location, which you said is a good location, crossing the park, close to the hospital. Okay, thank you. That's all my questions. Wes, if you'd like to give us your presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. When the board's ready, if we can turn to page 3 of my brief. So as mentioned, the property is located at 424 Valade Street, situated within Central St. Boniface. Property's 2-story building with an unfinished basement. Year of construction of the property is 1940, I believe. Just let me double check there. Yes, I believe the year of construction is 1940 of that property. And then the sales comparison approach has been used to determine the value of the property. The property has been assessed at a value of $401,000. MVP is requesting a value of $362,000. The board will turn with me to page 5. We have the current assessment of this property. So here we just show the $401,000. We can see this information been provided by the city of Winnipeg. So it shows the living area, the building type, basement finish, year of construction, what have you. Page 6 contains the sample comparison. So this has been provided. This was provided by the city of Winnipeg on the website, just showing some comparable properties. We can see there here that we have 462 Ulno, we have 133 Manson, and we've got 163 Dollard. Again, all of these properties are showing a lower time-adjusted value per square foot compared to the subject property. Page 3 is our request. So what we've done when looking at the property, so again, it's a little hard when looking at residential properties. They don't really sell on a price per square foot or price per unit. So what we've done is we've looked at similar properties within the area, bracketing the subject property to determine a value. So we have 4 properties that we felt were reasonable indicators. And we've outlined those on the table there. The year of construction of these properties, 1915, 14, and 1946, so kind of bracketing up higher and lower. We've looked at bracketing it in terms of the living area within the properties. And what you can see here is with the time-adjusted sale price, we've got a time-adjusted sale price of ranging from $346,200 up to $384,700. So again, when we look at these properties, they don't support the $401,000 as requested. So we've just taken a look, an average of these, and we're asking for $362,000 for the property. Page 9 contains the classification. So again, the same information we've seen previously. Page 11 contains the assessment map. So this is just showing the location of that property within the city of Calgary on Valade. And then we have a satellite map there as well. Page 12 has a picture of the property, so we have the physical characteristics. So we just show the exterior property from the front and from the back. Show the garage there on page 13. Page 14 is interior shots of I believe this is the main floor unit. Page 15, we have the valuation. So we've looked at 5 similar properties within the area. We've located these properties. They're all within St. Boniface, and we've provided those locations on the map there for the board's reference. So the subject property is going to be, believe, pin A. It's actually located just a little bit below that, so I guess we don't have a pin for the subject property, but it's located along the park there. And then we have the other properties. Again, you can see they're in relatively close proximity to the subject property and to St. Boniface Hospital there. Page 18, we have the properties that we've used. So you can see we've identified these properties using the PIN numbers, the sale dates, as well as the year. We've taken a look and we've indicated a basement finished or not and a garage, as well as a time-adjusted sale price and the living area. So again, when you look at these, we can see that these properties are transacting for values. The 448 Valade at $228,000 is a little bit of an outlier on the low end, but then the rest of the properties kind of clumped together reasonably closely, falling between $332,000 up to $384,000. Again, showing those areas. Page 19, we have these pictures of these properties. So you can see on page 19, 448 Valade. Page 20, we have 456 Elno. Page 21, we have 166 Desmond. Page 22, we have 440. Page 23, we have 133 Mason. Page 24, we have 462 Alno Street. And then page 25, we have 163 Dollard. So again, when we consider the properties, we've compiled these into the table. We've looked at location as being a factor, so near the hospital as well as the park. And we've looked at these properties. We've collected 4 properties, weighted them equally, and this is how we're getting a requested value of $362,000. Starting on page 27, we have supporting documentation. So on page 27, we have the property support for each one of these properties. This is again going to show the living area, so a little more detail, the building type, the basement finish, year of construction, things along those lines, as well as the land area. You can find this on page 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32. Just for the board's reference, the properties that we're looking at specifically in our valuation can be found on page. So it could be found on page 28. This is 166 Desmond. This is here. You can see the area is 1,555 square feet. It's 1.5 story. It has a basement that's finished. Or sorry, the area is 2,140 square feet, 2.5 stories. It has a basement that's finished or that's not finished. Year of construction is 1915. It has a detached garage and 3,296 square feet of land. Again, that'd be relatively similar to the subject property ourselves. This property sold for $346,000. We do note that the location is not as good, so again, that would be on the lower end. The next sale that we've used can be found on page 29. This is 440 Langevin. This property here you can see is a little bit smaller than the subject property at 1,664 square feet, 2 stories. It has a finished basement, 1946 year construction, so similar. Detached garage, much larger land area at 6,371 square feet. Again, agreeing that the location probably is not quite as good. This property sold for a value of $348,800. The next one is on Olno. You can find that on page 31 of our brief. Here you can see the property is actually larger than the subject property at 1,936 square feet, 2 stories. It has a finished basement, 1948, so a little bit newer, detached garage, 5,092 square feet in terms of land area. So again, when we're looking at this would probably be considered a little bit superior to the subject property. And then finally, we have the property at on page 32 at 163 Dollard Boulevard. This is 1,584 square feet, 2 stories, has a finished basement, 1914 year construction. It does have air conditioning. The property has an assessed area of land area of 4,174 square feet. So again, when we look at this property would probably sold for $384,700. So that would be on the high end there of our bracket. So when we look at this, we feel that this information does support our contention that the property has been overassessed, and as such, we do request reduction. We do request that adjustment. With that, I welcome any questions from the respondent or from the board. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have questions from the assessor first.
Yes, thank you. I do. Your page 17, I think you said in your presentation 18, that's 5.2, your market transactions.
Yes.
Okay, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 comparables here?
That's correct.
Okay. Have you reviewed these comparables?
We provided that information on page 27 to 37 of the package, showing things such as the living area, the building type, the basement finish, the land area, general information such as that.
Okay. Were you aware of Index A 448 Valid Street, that it has been demolished?
Yes, we were aware of that. We have not. Again, it was provided there as a transaction within the area to be considered. It was located on the road, but we have when we look at when we did our analysis, you can find on page 26, we considered 4 sales when determining our requested value, and that was not one of the 4 sales that we used.
Okay,
It was just provided there for
we'll
a
just
bracket and general information.
Okay, so we'll just look at those 4 sales then. So you said page 26. So
That's correct.
Turn to page 26. Index A 166 Desben Street. Are you aware that's a single family home?
Yes, we are.
And the subject is a multifamily conversion with 3 units?
Yep, we are aware of that. But again, when we're looking at rental, we felt that it's 2,140 square feet. We felt that would be a reasonable comparison when looking at it. And when looking at selling a property, it would be a consideration.
So it would be consideration, but someone could buy it and live in it versus renting it out, where our subject could be completely rented out.
Or you would buy it and rent it out. I mean, there's lots of ways. Just because the property's there doesn't necessarily mean you have to live in it. There are a number of homes that are purchased and rented out for a variety of reasons.
Okay. Also, then Index D 163 Dollar Boulevard. Do you know how many units are in that property and the bedroom count for those units?
I do not know.
Okay, because you said it was at the high end of your bracket.
Yep. So $384,700 on that with a time adjustment. I believe it sold for $365,000 in 2016.
Correct. Because I reviewed it, it was 2 one-bedroom units.
Okay.
So it would bring in less rent than the subject at 3 units. Would you not say?
Yeah, I mean that's certainly possible. Again, depending on the size of the unit. There's a couple factors there, but I'd say generally it could be generally accepted that a 1-bedroom would bring in slightly less revenue than a multiple bedroom unit.
Yeah, because that property is only 1,584 square feet, so 2-story. So each floor has 1-bedroom unit. So yeah, it's quite smaller than the subject property. A little bit smaller.
A little bit smaller. I don't know if it's quite smaller, but a little bit smaller. Yes. A little bit. I'll agree with you. Yes.
Yeah, where we have a 2-bedroom unit and 2 one-bedroom units, so we have 4 bedrooms being rented, right? Versus the 2 bedrooms for this comparable.
But if we consider the size of the building, if we consider on a per unit basis, so say we split it equally, we're at $1,750 roughly for each one of the units. That would be in $163. Whereas with the property, for splitting that across 3, we'd be looking at one, and we're considering we know it's an unfinished basement, and we consider the split, would probably be looking at one bedroom at roughly, a little less than 800 square feet. The other one would be 400 square feet each. If we're looking at the 1-bedrooms, 400 square foot units are a little less appealing. You're not going to get the rent generating, so you're certainly going to be taking a cut there compared to what you'd be looking at in a 2-bedroom in a 1-bedroom that's 750 square feet. So I would agree that you take 2 of them, you might be slightly higher than what you'd be expecting from the 1-bedroom, and then the same thing for the 2-bedroom. Again, yes, you're about 800 square feet, but it's a tight 800 square feet on 2 bedrooms. So there are 2 there, but it's not as spacious as the 1-bedroom. So again, if we look at area, I would say that there's a bit of a difference, but I don't know if it'd be that substantial in terms of the rent generating capabilities.
All right, no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see if the panel has any questions. Jeff, question?
Mine have been asked and answered. Thanks.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question, and that's with respect to the year built. So the assessor has given evidence that this is a 1940 constructed building, but she's got an effective age of 1965, which suggests there's been some renovations. Are you aware whether any of your comparables that you're using on page 25 have undergone renovations?
No, and to be frank, you know, I don't know what kind of renovations have been done that would result in a 20-year, or I guess 25-year increase on effective age on this property either. So we used 1940 when we were looking at it. We looked at other properties in the area that had a similar kind of year of construction, and when we were coming up with our value.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. My questions as well have been answered. Summation from either party, Ms. Blockton, anything to say in summation?
No, I'm good. You have the evidence in front of you. Certainly our range is from the 385,000 to 430. The subject falls within that range. So it is my opinion that the assessment as of April 1st, 2018 for this property is 401,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Wes, any summation?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So again, we took a look at this property. We've provided our comparables for the board on page 26 of our brief. You know, again, we do understand that there are a lot of factors that come in play when we're looking at a residential home. We've tried to look at properties within the area that are similar. We feel that we've bracketed the subject property reasonably well when it comes to year construction, when it comes to living area, when it comes to land value. And when we look at that, we get values, you know, we see for sales, you know, kind of ranging from 346,000 up to 384,000 in value. Again, when we take the average, we get 362,000. We feel that would be a pretty reasonable approach. You know, again, some similar properties that would look at $163. You know, again, property's a little smaller, $384,000, and then we have the property at 462 Alno, 1948 year construction. You know, again, we see that property is larger at 1,963 square feet and sold for $367,600. So when we consider those two properties, we feel that our request is reasonable at $362,000, and the assessment at 401 is a little outside of that range. And we respectfully request the board to make that reduction. Thank you very much.
I thank you. I thank you for coming, appearing, and I think that takes care of your properties.
It does. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. You have a wonderful day, and thank you very much, Nancy, and thank you very much, fellow chair members. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. That concludes item number 8, and I believe, Nancy, that concludes your...
Yes, thank you. It does, yes.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We'll take a 5-minute recess and be right back. I call the meeting back to order, and we will begin with item number 3 on the agenda, 748 Banning Street.
And just before the assessor begins his presentation, I'll just affirm the testimony of the applicant. Would you please stand? Yeah. Can you please state your name for the record?
Diane, last name Cung.
And do you affirm the evidence you'll present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You can remove your mask while you're at the table if you wish.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Baracus, when you're ready.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, file number 20-447, roll number 13022579000, address 748 Banning Street. Roll year 2021, April 1st, 2018, reference date assessed value 290,000. It's an apartment on Banning, 1954. There's no effective year built on it. This one's somewhat unique. I've actually been to the place. The place is vacant on the inside. It needs a lot of work to bring it up to occupancy standards. This one and the next one, they're in the same condition. So this property, I'm assuming that my additional information has been attached to the end of my normal brief generated by the model. This property was actually already heard at the 2020 Board of Revision,
Okay.
where it was lowered down to 290, and it's also at the municipal board right now. So anything that gets decided on, like it's already been reduced, any sort of decision will be overrun by the municipal board, either settlement or decision. So the board's already lowered this property, and it's been heard, and I'm not seeking an increase, knowing that there is a municipal board that's going to supersede this board we're at today. So I didn't make any changes to the property. I didn't ask for an increase. The income breakdown, you'll see that what we've used, going back to my standard brief on page 3, shows that we have applied the maximum vacancy rate to this property because there is a physical structure there. However, the condition of the suites is such that work needs to be done to bring it up to a condition where it can be put up for rent. So as such, what the department has done is that we've applied the 25% vacancy, which is the max vacancy we apply to a property, that we can apply to a property before it starts to go below land value. And we've got a 61% expense ratio, which is high. And we've got the highest cap rate we have in our model at 6.6%, which was decided on by the 2020 Board of Revision. So that's the value that I'm supporting. I'm not here arguing against the 290. I'm just saying that it's going to be dealt at the municipal board. So I'm not going to be requesting or going for any changes today. That's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see if there's any questions. Ms. Kong, do you have questions of the assessor?
Yes, I do. I wondering what you say is on page 3.
Yeah.
The document you sent, you say is the Grove Park Hotel, so rent is 66,180. And why you're being up that amount? Because
What's the question?
On page 3,
Yes, the 66,180.
yeah,
You're asking where that came from?
why he put down this rental in,
Okay, well,
in the property 748 Banning?
okay.
Because
Well, let's see what he has to say. How did that potential income, potential rent come from?
So the property is physically still standing, and there are still suites that are demised, just it's in such a condition that it can't be rented right now. So the department's in a position where we have to somehow value the fact that there is a structure in place, but we have it as low as we can in our model to push the rent down as far as we can based on the market, on what's going out there. And we've applied a maximum 25% vacancy rate. Anything more than that starts to put assessments below land value. Now, I don't have any land sales in my brief because there weren't any land sales in this area. And not for nothing, this thing is at the municipal board. It's already been heard before. So that gross potential rent isn't the potential rent that the property can get in its current condition. However, we have applied a 25% vacancy rate to reflect the fact that it can't be rented right now.
Okay. Any more questions, Ms.
yes,
Kong?
yes. I also wondering, you being the you say subject sell history 825,000. Why you put down like that value on page 2 on your document? Subject sell history. You say October 2007. I bought this property 825,000.
Yeah.
But you know that is not true. I bought is actually 2 property, 748 Banning and 757 Banning. 2 property is 825,000.
Okay.
Not one.
Okay, well, we'll ask the assessor. Did you know, she's saying that that 825,000 included both properties.
Yeah, so that's why when you look at the page there, we have the actual sale price at 387,500. So we've only attributed the 387,500 as to what they spent on this particular property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you understand that he said that the 387,500 is what applies to this property?
Okay. And what you say is also on page 2. You say request for income information. 2010. You say incomplete. What that mean? May 6, 2011, incomplete. What that mean?
Okay, so that's just the way the brief has been marked. I know when you came in and I helped you with the mailer to fill the mailer out, and we did it together. Yes. So you submitted your mailer. You're compliant. I'm not here seeking non-compliance because you did what you're supposed to. Your property is vacant. It says incomplete, but that's because the system did not pick out the fact that you actually did submit your mailer, but there's no income and expense information to indicate, and that was indicated on the mailer. So there's no penalty against you there. You did the correct thing by coming in. So that incomplete is not something we should worry about.
Can I excuse you?
Could you put that on airplane mode, please?
Yeah. I turn off the phone now.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
not to worry.
I don't understand your mean.
That doesn't affect the value at all. The incomplete is not affecting the value of your building at all. So I wouldn't worry.
Incomplete in the completion or not completion, because I don't understand English good.
Yes, but
So
that has no effect on anything. Don't worry about that incomplete.
no,
No, that's nothing to worry about.
Okay, because the
It does not affect the value of your building.
oh. And I want to know about page 4, your rental comparison. You put down the comparison property 198 Furby and 500 to 28 Sargent, 952 Notre Dame, and 864 Notre Dame. All of this property, is it they vacant also?
No, they're not vacant.
Then why you bring to comparison 74A Banning? Because they're not vacant, they have rental income, right?
Yes, that is correct. They're just to show that these are some of the lowest rents in the neighborhood. So we're saying, had your place been fixed up to just an acceptable occupancy standard, your average monthly rent would be around $500, as supported by the 4 sales I provided.
But this 74A Banning did not cannot rent for 500 per month like that, because right now is the boiler is broken since 2009 until now. The boiling of the boiler of this.
That'll be in your presentation.
Yes. So therefore, all of this comparison you bring up to compare as in 74A Banning is not reasonable, right? You know that. And
Yeah.
you bring to comparison to confusing because I don't think this is fair enough to bring up comparison to 74A Banning. And also for the rental that they put in what year this rental, do of this comparison property, the rental for what year?
2017, it says on the bottom of the page.
2017?
Yes.
Oh, he did not put down in here.
On the bottom of page 4.
Oh, okay. So what the value now up to today now?
290,000.
No, do of this comparison property, what the rental for 2020 for 198 Furby?
What is the question?
I want to know is 2000, now we appeal 2020, right? And
this is 2021. I think you've appealed here today.
Yeah. And he put down the rental for the year 2017. Then that's not reasonable rental to bring up today for rental for the hearing today, right? Because the hearing today is 2021. right?
Reference year that we're using is April 1st, 2018. So we don't look at any values past April 1, 2018.
Yeah, he
So
should
the
put
last
be-
full year of rents to show is 2017.
yeah, he should put down 2018, right? Not 2017. Because
He can't use 2018 because he can't go past April 1st. So he can't use the whole year of 2018. So 2017 is the correct rents.
okay. Yeah, that's all. No more questions.
Okay, we'll see if the panel has any questions. Lynn,
No,
questions?
I have no questions.
I have no questions.
And I have no questions either. So you can give us your information. I remind you that you have appealed it to the municipal board, so their decision will, as Matthew had said, override whatever decision we make here. But go ahead and tell us your story.
What override mean? Can you tell me? Because my English not good enough to understand.
When the municipal board makes a decision for 2020, it will also cover the 2021 whole year.
But I do appeal 2018 to 2016, 18 to municipal board. Until now, I did not hear anything from municipal board yet.
Well, you will, I guess, eventually. They're just backlogged. They're behind. But anyway,
Yeah.
tell us your...
Yes. Could I represent 757 banding first? Because in here do show the comparison property for both property.
Well, we have to finish up with 748 first.
Okay. So could you look on the front page have 748 banding
Okay.
and 757 banding and 377 Home Street?
Well, we're only dealing with two here, 748.
Yeah. So I do bring up those comparison to show to the board.
Okay.
This page here
Okay.
is as you can see, I make a mistake to write down the assessment for 2020 for 748 banding. Actually, is 290, not 310. 310 is for 757 banding because I make a mistake in there.
Okay.
So could you make it correctly in there for me, please?
We have it at 290.
Yes.
That's what we have. Yes.
Yeah, but I write down wrong in here. So
Okay.
I would like to let you know. 748 banding in 2016, the assessment only 188,000. That is because this property is totally damaged. The building is nothing water at all. It's the boiler had been broken. Therefore, the water line, everything had been the wall and the floor, everything is the roof, everything is damaged. The roof was leaking, and the boiler had been broken. So inside this building is really worse. You look on the picture that I taking today to have submit to you.
Yeah, they have it on their computers.
Yes, you see all the mold so on the wall and ceiling in every room, every unit.
That was a separate file, it's legal applicant. those. I read 3 and 4.
Okay.
It should be right at the top of it, so.
Okay. We have your pictures up here.
So as you can see, it's the building is totally waterless because the plumbing have been broken since first the boiler broken. Is the water line is cracked all over.
Does this building have any heat in it?
No, heating by boiler.
Yeah.
The whole building is heating by boiler, not by electric. And now the boiler has been broken 2009 until now.
So are the windows boarded up and stuff?
And last year is someone tried to book in this building and book all the windows of this property. And this property is totally worthless. The rental of this property in 2008 is when I buy this property, the agent tell me it's the rental per one unit is $420 per month in 2008, and therefore, and he did not show me all the apartment. He just showed me a couple in the good condition. And however, when I bought over, then I find out most the apartment is real old and everything broke down. And the tenant keep phoning me, the water line broken or the electric not working. So have to keep fixing like that because it's expense is a lot of expense for the rental 420. So I can afford it, so I can come. I go to the tenant. I ask increase the rent 150, and the tenant they don't agree. They sue to residential tenancy, and the board of residential tenancy say this property only rent to 300.
Okay, well then we don't need the rent numbers because it's
$380 to 390 only. So for 420 is that not right? The rent that the tenant had to be paid. But however, the previous owner showed me that they receipt from the tenant is 420 per month. Therefore, the residential property, as I have to return to back to the tenant from the day I bought it until that is in each unit. You look on this document on unit 4 on tab 4.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can see is the order of the rent has to be returned to the tenant. The residential tenancy, as I have to return for the tenant unit 1A 757 pending is
Okay.
$228. have to return back to them because the previous owner charged the rent 420. That's not right.
And now you don't have any tenants?
No,
tenants. How long has it been?
2009 until now.
No tenants since
No.
2009?
Yes, until now. After I asked the tenant move out so I can put the new electric, new plumbing. Then after I put that in, and then the boiler is broken.
Have you ever tried to sell them again?
Because I put too much money in this property to renovation, and now it's all broken again. So it's I try to make finance with the bank to try to fix it. However, the bank no bank agree to loan the money to me because they say I have no income. Therefore, for loan the money from the bank have to have the income of this property so I can so they can look into it. If no income, then they don't accept it to loan the money.
Okay, let's see if anybody has any questions, and then you can tell us about the other one, 757. But first, we'll see if there's any questions on this. Matthew, do you have any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Okay. Jeff, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
No questions.
I don't have any questions either. We'll make a decision on this. Let's move on to the next property. Okay? First, yes, but is that good? We'll go, you can tell us, we'll go through 757 banning. Okay, that will conclude item number 3 at 747 banning, and we'll go to 757 banning.
Yes.
And we'll have the assessor tell us his side first.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, 757 banning, file number 20-448, roll number 13022456000. Assessed at 310,000. It's just across the street from the previous property, and I've inspected this one as well. It's the same story as the previous one. It was also heard at the Board of Revision for 2020, where they lowered it from 501 to 310. I'm not asking for an increase, and it's at the municipal board. So I'm honoring that decision, and it's going to be dealt with at the municipal board. Same sort of, it's the same situation where we've used a 25% vacancy rate. So for the purpose of being quick, our income workup is on page 3. It shows the 6.6 cap and the 25% vacancy. This one's 12 units, 1 bachelor, 11 one bedroom, but it's not occupiable right now in his work. So that's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see if there's any questions. Do you have any questions about?
Yeah.
Do you want to ask the assessor any questions?
No, I have no question, but I have to wish the board have to look into the rental of the.
First, we have to see if we have any questions of the assessor. Then you'll tell us about that. Okay.
Yes.
Panel members, any questions? Do you have any questions? Okay, I have no questions either. Okay, tell us about this property.
Yeah, this property again is the order of the rent for the fund from the residential tenancy ban on tab 4 of this document.
Yeah.
And you can see the fund pay of this document is I have two comparison property here. For one is 377 Home Street, and the other one is 484 Toronto. And two property, the lot almost the same size as mine. And the building is actually is 484 Toronto is bigger than mine. The total square feet of this property is bigger than my bull property. And look at the assessment for 2018, only 281 only. And why for 757 bending it had to be 310,000 for assessment for the property totally walnut. And
is this property vacant? Totally
Yeah.
vacant?
Totally
no
vacant.
heat?
No tenant at all.
No tenants? Is
2000
there any
2009 until now.
Is there any heat in the building?
No.
heat?
No property the same. And totally walnut. And you can look on the repairment for empty roofing. Is they ask for 71,000 for the roof only. For the deck, if the deck damage will be replacement at the additional cost $4.55 per square feet. If the deck get rocking, if the deck of the roof get rocking, have to replacement. That is $4.55 per square feet. And the insulation will be additional cost $5.05 per square feet. Those of this actual, then will be over 100,000 for the roof fixing only. And for the estimate for repair the unit,
So what are you going to?
on tab 2 of this document, you can see the estimate of repair at 2011 is they ask for 178,000. That is back to 2011. But now 2010, they say will be triple of this amount. Will be almost 400,000 for repair those of this unit. So the building, and beside that, the brick of this building also is already is rocking or losing. And I asked the brick companies come to repair how much cost. They give me is 30,000 for repair the brick only. So you can see is you can see the building is the tab 4. You can see it on tab 3. You can see the brick all is losing on tab 3. You can see the brick all losing on tab 3.
Okay.
To fixing the brick only 30,000. So
Well,
that did not include the plumbing or electric at all. So you can see it's a whole property totally water, and only I believe the fence is just assess the land for both of this property, because and I do bring up the land assessment is the almost the same size as mine on this document. Is so is 47 Hartley Street, right? And this lot is almost like the same above my property. The assessment only 75,000 for 2020. You look on this document of 748 bending, have tab 1A, B2 on the front page. As you can see, it's the land for assessment for the land the same size as my both property, only 75,000 only. So therefore, the board of revision reduced my property in 2010 to 188 for 748 bending, and 75 is 198 only, because they look on more property, the building is totally water. To fixing cost more than a new build. So the board of revision reduced assessment to for 748 bending is 188,000 from 2010 to 2016, all the same value. But I don't know is why my both of this property nothing repair. Why have to be increased assessment? It's nothing water.
Okay. I think we understand what's going on.
Yes.
You have to leave it. Well, we'll see first if anybody has any questions for you. Mr. Baracus, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Mr. Pesh, do you have any questions?
May I redirect one to the assessor?
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry. You had mentioned that the highest cap rate that you assigned is a 6.6 on your page 5. You know there is a high cap rate for the city of Winnipeg at 7.3.
Oh, really? Let me see here. Oh, yeah, right. That would be for market region 4. That market region has a premium on it. The north end, this property doesn't fall into that. So other regions, 6.6 is the top.
No other questions.
I have no questions.
I don't have any questions either. Okay, you leave this with us.
Yes.
And we'll look at it.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes item number 4.
Where's the non-co-op on item 1?
Okay, Mr. Barakis,
Cool, Diane. Thank you.
You're welcome.
thank you for coming.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. Barakis, if you would like to take us through item number 1, 570 A Ellis Avenue.
Okay, is there an appellant present there?
There is not.
There is not.
Okay, so I'll just read it in. Okay, sorry, my computer's slow. File number 20-279, roll number 13050497570 ALS. Roll year 2021, assessed value 2,371,000. So we requesting the burden of proof be shifted, as the appellant, as you see on page 2, hasn't been submitting their income and expense mailers to us. And if you scroll to the bottom of my brief, you'll see that it was received. The registered mail was received June 8, 2018. So they didn't return their information. And so I don't have anything to go off of. So we've got our parameters here at setting it to 2,371,000 with a 5.3% cap rate. That's my evidence.
Thank you. Any questions from the panel? Lynn?
I have none.
No? Okay, thank you. Leave that with us. We'll move on to item number 2. 250 Furby.
Okay, 250 Furby. File number 20.287-287, roll number 12090615000. Assessed at 18,061,000. Let me scroll down. 1 million, yes, sir. 1 million. I'm talking all morning here. 61,000. And so I believe this property, I have the order here. I think it was actually heard at the Board of Revision already and was reduced to this value. So I'm not going for an increase. They are compliant, handing in their information. Our workup is found on page 3. There is an error in terms of the net operating income, which matches, pardon me, the assessment. If you subtract the effective gross income and the expenses, you actually come up with a, let's see if I can find this, net operating income in the $97,000 range, if memory serves, which is how the estimated market value is calculated. So I'm not going for any change on this one either. That's my evidence.
Thank you. Any questions from the panel? No questions. I have no questions. Okay, thank you, Matthew. That will conclude the hearing.